strange but true. If you haven't already subscribed, click the link on the bottom right and click the notifications bell, and you'll be informed then when I upload new content. This video continues in the theme of the quantum realm and explores that world and the bizarre nature of that world and ties it in with consciousness. It follows on from the Schrödinger cat video, which in turn followed on from ultimate reality. However, they can be watched independently, of course. So in this video I'm going to present my own thought experiment, which tries to show the bizarre nature, the strange but true world that exists at the subatomic level, which is the level of particles that are within or smaller than an atom. And this is the quantum world, where quantum theory and quantum mechanics tend to describe what is going on mathematically, but also pose problems when we come to try to define the meaning of what is actually happening at that level. And we have spoken about Erwin Schrödinger and some of his metaphysical comments and how they tied in with the non-duality perspective of the great Indian sages like Nisargadatta Maharaj. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give a thought experiment, and this would be trying to show the bizarre nature of that world if it were scaled up to our macro level of experience. For this analogy of a scaled up quantum level experiment, I would like you to imagine an apparatus consisting of flexible hollow plastic tubing and dozens of white marbles. The tubing is opaque black with an internal diameter just wide enough for the marbles to roll through. The apparatus begins with an open-ended straight section of tubing which then branches in two. Each branch forms two opposing semicircles that join back together, and where they rejoin there is a final straight section that finishes with an open end. The whole structure is lying on a wooden board angled at a slight downward slope. Marbles placed in the top end of the tube will roll down the first straight section and then take either the left or the right branch, run through the semicircular section, join back with the final straight section, and then exit from the open end. There is a large bowl positioned under the exit to collect the marbles. The whole design is such that marbles placed in the open-ended starting section of the tube have a 50-50 chance of rolling down either the left or right semicircular branch before exiting down the final straight section. Because the tube is opaque, we cannot see the path of the marbles, and so there is no way of knowing whether they will take the left or the right branch. All we observe is the marbles entering the top straight section of the tube and then, moments later, exiting one by one from the bottom straight section into the bowl. Now, let us add another element to this experiment. Halfway down the left semicircular branch of the tube we insert a small nozzle that, when turned on, sprays a continuous fine mist of blue paint into the tube. And similarly, halfway down the right semicircular branch of the tube we insert another small nozzle that, when turned on, sprays a continuous fine mist of yellow paint. Assume for the purposes of this analogy that the sprays of blue and yellow paint remain in each respective branch and do not mix further down the tubing. The final piece to the apparatus is a hinged flap located inside the top straight section of the tube at the point where it branches in two. Using an external lever, this flap has three settings. It can close off the left branch, it can close off the right branch, or it can open both branches. Now, let us begin our experiment. Firstly, using the lever, we close off the left branch of the tube so that the only path available to the marbles is the right branch through the yellow spray. We turn on both paint sprays and then insert a funnel into the open end of the top section of the tube, allowing us to pour in dozens of white marbles. What we observe at the end of the apparatus are newly painted yellow marbles filling the bowl as they exit one by one from the bottom tube. No surprise there. Next, we turn off the sprays, empty the bowl, clean the apparatus and repeat the experiment, but this time we set the lever to close off the right branch of the tube. So now the only path available is the left branch through the blue spray. Again, we turn on both sprays and pour in dozens of white marbles. This time, as we would expect, the bowl fills with dozens of newly painted blue marbles. For the next experiment, we again turn off the sprays, empty the bowl and clean the apparatus. But this time we set the lever to open both branches. And once again turn on the sprays and pour in dozens of white marbles. The marbles now have a 50-50 chance of taking either the left or the right branch. And so we would expect the bowl to fill with roughly equal amounts of newly painted blue and yellow marbles, the sprayed colour depending upon which path each marble has taken. We watch as the bowl starts filling with newly painted marbles, but they are not blue or yellow, they are all green. For all the marbles collecting in the bowl to be green, each individual one would have had to pass through the blue and the yellow spray at the same time. In other words, each individual marble would have had to pass through both branches of the tube simultaneously. This is clearly nonsense, so to investigate further, rather than sending a constant stream of marbles down the tube, we decide to simplify the experiment and send down just one at a time. So we repeat the experiment. Once we have reset the apparatus, cleaned the tubing and turned on the sprays, we close off the left branch and place a single white marble into the top tube. As we would expect, it exits from the bottom tube, collected in the bowl and is painted yellow. Resetting the apparatus, we close off the right branch and again place a single white marble in the top tube. As expected, it exits from the bottom tube, collecting in the bowl and is painted blue. Now, for the big test. After resetting and cleaning again, we open up both branches of the tube, turn on the sprays and place a single white marble in the top tube. Moments later, it exits from the bottom tube, collecting in the bowl, and is painted green. In disbelief, we place another white marble in the top tube and it too collects in the bowl and is painted green. We continue placing single white marbles into the top tube and each time they exit painted green. This appears to confirm the mind-bending results of our first experiment. The single marble must somehow be passing through both branches of the tube, which is clearly impossible. Following much head-scratching, we decide this bizarre behaviour needs further investigation, as the results seem to be breaking physical laws, not to mention defying our common sense. We need to see which branch the single marble actually takes, because clearly it cannot be taking both. We need to see what is happening inside the tube after it branches in two. So we cut a small opening in the tube at the point just after it branches to the left, and an identical opening at the point just after it branches to the right. These apertures give us a view inside both branches of the tube without affecting the marble's movement. So now, as the marble rolls past either aperture, we will see it and therefore we will know the path it has taken. This should give us a clearer picture of what is going on. We empty and clean the apparatus once again, start the sprays and set the lever to open both branches and place a single white marble in the top tube. This time we observe it as it rolls past the aperture in the left branch, subsequently exits from the bottom tube, collects in the bowl and is painted blue. No surprise. We continue to place white marbles in the top and observe which branch each one takes. Because it is a 50-50 chance, we observe through the apertures, some marbles taking the left branch and others the right, and the bowl gradually fills with blue and yellow painted marbles respectively. This is exactly the behaviour we would expect. The apparatus is identical to our previous experiment, apart from the fact that we can now observe through the apertures which branch each marble takes inside the tube. We know its location. So, we perform one final experiment. We cover up both apertures with black tape so that we can no longer see inside either branch of the tube. We then reset the apparatus, and with both branches open, we repeat the last experiment, placing a single white marble in the top tube. It exits from the bottom tube, collecting in the bowl, and is painted green. We continue placing white marbles in the top tube. They begin collecting in the bowl, and each and every one is painted green. Repeating this experiment day after day, week after week, month after month will give the same results. With both branches open and no observation apertures, each marble will exit the bottom tube, collected in the bowl, and will be painted green. If we open the apertures and observe the marble's path, it will collect in the bowl and be painted either blue or yellow, corresponding to the branch we have observed it taking. Both experiments are identical, apart from in one we are observing the marble's path and the other we are not. This clearly makes no sense. However, these results mirror the behaviour of particles being observed by physicists at the subatomic level. In the equivalent actual quantum experiment, when making its journey, the subatomic particle, the marble, is said to be in a state of quantum superposition, which means it is in all possible states simultaneously, passing through both left and right branches at the same time, until it is observed or measured for a specific result, observing it through the aperture, whereupon it appears in only one location, left branch or right branch. Another way quantum physicists describe this behaviour is that prior to being measured or observed, the particle has no specific location, but is a probability wave of potentialities spread out over all possible locations, and that the act of measuring or observing collapses the wave function to one location. I'm sure you will agree that this behaviour is baffling and defies all logic. Returning to my experimental analogy and describing it in quantum terms, prior to observing through the open apertures, each marble's path is said to be in a state of superposition, appearing to pass through both branches simultaneously and collecting in the bowl painted green. By observing its path, measuring for a specific result, the superposition of states collapses and the marble collects in the bowl and is painted the colours corresponding to the branch we observed it taking, the left branch blue or the right branch yellow. Our observation collapses the wave function, or, if you prefer, the subatomic world is in a suspended state of indeterminacy until it is observed or measured, whereupon a concrete reality results. This thought experiment of mine is based upon Thomas Young's famous double slit experiment, where matter and energy can display the characteristics of either a wave or a particle depending upon how they are observed. In my thought experiment, the green marble represents the interference pattern built up gradually on the photographic plate over time, indicating that each individual particle must somehow pass through both slits simultaneously.